Hello, before we begin today's video, can you please like, share, and subscribe to the channel because it actually helps expand the wonderful knowledge of NY and JPA weather and helps yours truly. So I really would appreciate it. So thank you, and as always, stay safe out there. Now let's get to today's video. Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, December 19th, 2025. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen D. Martino, CDM number 9. Well, first, let's take a look at the overall environment. We have a lot going on this morning, too, with the heavy rainfall and strong winds. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to show you the evolution of our SOI. This is really important because the SOI is free falling, is crashing, which means our support for La Nina is also crashing. So we're seeing a change that we've been expecting. I've been talking about this since September. Once we hit November, we'll get to the peak of our La Nina, which is right about here at 17.97 in the 30-day average. Now we're down to 0.57 and falling. So we'll continue to see this weakening of the La Nina influence and our gradual evolution of our weather pattern. This is going to be a gradual change. But the primary factor that's really influencing our weather pattern is what's going on in the stratosphere. Now, when we take a look at our sea surface temperatures, first of all, I just want to show very warm water in the northern Pacific. That's not changing. Support for a negative NAO is repeated here in the sea surface temperatures. Our La Nina is weakening. Then we go to our stratospheric environment, and you can see the EP flux continuing. We talked about this last week. The reason why I'm showing this is that there have been no changes aside from tropical forcing, which I was expected to be weak, in terms of the overall evolution of the atmosphere. Okay, everything's pretty much evolving as expected. And so when we take a look at the evolution of our polar vortex, the theme I'm seeing is constant stretching, and I don't see that ending anytime soon. So we're going to have waves of cold air and warm air with each stretch and contraction that we see with the polar vortex. And so that means we're going to have a weather pattern with waves of cold air, waves of warm air. I think we saw the end of our sustained cold period for this winter, as in every week's below normal. Every day is below normal. I think instead now, as we move through the winter, we are on a thermal gradient, which means that we're on the storm track and we see waves of cold and warm air. And some of those waves lead to major winter storms, and some of those waves lead to, well, rainstorms. So we're going to remain very active, very volatile, and basically we're going to have to stay on our toes, which is why I am still keeping an eye out for after Christmas, between Christmas and New Year's, a little bit of a trick in this weather pattern, okay? Now, when we take a look at the model guidance this morning, and this is the European ensembles guidance, I like using the ensembles just to kind of minor out all the noise here. And what we're seeing here is a continuation of a negative NAO pattern here with a trough, but we don't have the support for major winter storms. And I said this from the beginning for several weeks now. This is not a major winter storm, Costa Mussolini type winter storm, or as they would call it, KU storm, where you get a low pressure system coming out of the Gulf or redeveloping off the Carolina coast and shooting up the coast with heavy snowfall for everyone. That's not this pattern. That hasn't been this pattern since the start of December. What this pattern is a clipper pattern. And so what we have to watch out for with this negative NAO pattern is these clippers dropping a little bit further south than what's being shown in the 5 to 10 day period, which is what gave us our last winter storm, where things escalated pretty quickly from, well, maybe 1 to 3 inches to where people ended up with 6 to 8 inches of snow. I'm not saying that is what we can expect for the time period around, well, basically the last couple of days of December, but I am saying don't let your guard down, okay? This could easily be, depending on the location, and let me jump to the operational here, so that way we can show a little bit more detail. The operational guidance, the difference between us being in the 30s and 40s for Christmas, or 40s and 50s, is the location of this feature right here. As it develops and organizes, this will enhance the convergence and confluence here, which enhances the high pressure system, which will either put that high pressure system here or put that high pressure system here. And the difference between that is the difference between a near average Christmas day, temperatures in the 40s, or a cold Christmas day, temperatures in the 30s. The reason why I point that out is that that same feature here will help to dictate what happens with this feature here as it dives south. Now, the current guidance keeps it well to our north as this kind of lifts northward. But if you have this block, this doesn't work very well. So I'm thinking we should keep an eye on this feature right here. So I'm just, again, the process here is look at the model guidance and ask yourself, does this make sense? So it's splitting off and it's wavering around. The difference in pressures and this rise in these rising heights don't really make much sense. So again, this is something that we definitely have to watch out for. And then with all of these below normal heights here, then it takes another disturbance and drives it towards the coast, which again, doesn't drive it far enough south. But you can see what I'm saying here. What I would stay away from in this type of pattern is any indication of major widespread winter storms, like the guidance was showing a couple of days ago with a huge upper level low all over the Carolinas. Not the right pattern, not right. But in this type of scenario, when I'm seeing this ridge getting more and more support to build here, yeah, we definitely have to watch this period. So you have your rising heights here, you have your negative NAO here. This doesn't exactly set right with me. I don't think this is this far north. I think this is further south, and then therefore this is further south. So again, we'll keep an eye on this and see how it evolves. Hey, look, it could all get sheared out and we have a very quiet period. That's certainly a possibility, but there's just way too many signals here to say, hey, no worries. Keep an eye on this forecast period. In the meantime, we have all sorts of activity going on right now. We have a cold front on the way. Our warm front has lifted northward. Our temperatures are very warm. Say goodbye to the snowpack. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s along the coast. Lower to mid 50s over your far northern interior. Waves of moderate to heavy rainfall. And here comes our cold front with temperatures free falling. Probably the cold front's more like around here than back here. But you can see the change. We go from the 50s quickly to the 40s and then into the 30s as that cold air transport is on the way. Take a look at our weather tap radar and surface map. We'll put this in motion here. This piece is actually from the Gulf Coast. This is part of the subtropical jet stream, putting a little 2 cents in this whole scenario. So this feature is moving through right now, very heavy rainfall associated with the strong warm air transport. This right here is the leading edge of the cold air starting to work its way in. A little bit of a low top thunderstorm complex. If we're going to see those wind gusts, and again, when we take a look at the data here, we have wind gusts anywhere between 30 to 34, 35 miles per hour. I would not be surprised if we get a 40 or 50 mile per hour wind gust as this cold front moves through with this squall line. That's what we're going to be keeping an eye on. Luckily, we don't have that widespread 40, 50 mile per hour wind gust threat materializing, which is great news. And I'll show you why that's the case. So here's our cold front marching through. Don't be surprised as the cold air catches up that we end up with some snow on the back end of this. In fact, let's see. We can reset the winter mask here. It might not be having fill-in time, but how do I know that we're seeing some colder air coming in? Well, let's take a look at the cold air transport. Here's the cold air coming in. Most likely this is snow up here. So this is going to be bum rushing right into the region. Now, the reason why we don't have powerful wind gusts like some of the guidance was showing was that the strongest wind gusts, which was projected to be down here, are actually up here in the St. Lawrence River Valley. But still, this is still strong enough to produce that 30 to 50 mile per hour wind gust threat. So we definitely have to keep an eye on that. And what will be key is whether or not with all this heavy rain, you get some of these winds mixed down. Again, it's still strong enough to create some problems, and we certainly are seeing some problems with our drive through the region. So there it is, moving quickly. You can see on the infrared satellite picture, there's the cold front, cold air driving in. Enjoy the 50s this morning. We're going to be free falling through the 40s and the 30s and eventually into the 20s by tomorrow morning, which means after the rain, I'd put out a little bit of salt on your sidewalks and your driveway to prevent any black ice forming, because any water that's going to be left over will likely start to refreeze. I just want to show you the HRR guidance here. And you can see that heavy rainfall. There's piece 1. Here's piece 2 marching through. And this feature right here is where we could see some mix down of some of those stronger winds at the mid-levels marching its way through as we go on into the early afternoon hours. Everything clears out. Here comes the primary cold front right here. So you got the warm air transport, secondary cold front, primary cold front. Okay, so you're seeing the waves of cold air coming in, and then here comes our cold air. Like I was saying, don't be surprised in the Poconos and Catskills this evening, or this afternoon, should I say, that you end up with a snow squall trying to replenish dusting or so. So certainly some very changeable weather. So if you're heading out this afternoon, you're actually going to need that heavier coat as those temperatures are going to be falling and the winds are going to be pretty strong. And then watch out for a few flurries here and there. The good news, I'm not expecting any major winter storms or any type of major weather impacts as we head towards Christmas week. Afterwards, we'll keep an eye on it. But up to it, not so much. So for today, again, we got our waves of rain and wind. We already talked about the highs and the free falling temperatures. Tonight into tomorrow morning, skies clear. Look for temperatures to plummet into the lower to mid 20s over the northern interior, mid to upper 20s along the coast. For tomorrow afternoon, look for sky cloud cover. Temperatures in the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s along the coast. For Sunday, a low pressure system passes to our north. An isolated shower is possible, but for the most part, sky cloud cover is expected with slightly warmer temperatures. Look for low temperatures in the upper 20s to lower 30s over the northern interior, mid to upper 30s along the coast. High temperatures in the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s in the Delaware River Valley, lower to mid 40s along the coast. On Monday, colder air returns with high pressure and control. Look for a very chilly morning. Lows in the upper teens to lower 20s over the northern interior, lower to mid 20s along the coast. High temperatures in the lower to mid 30s throughout the region. On Tuesday, we warm up again. Another clipper drives through. The focus of that clipper will be to our north. Again, well, watch out for some rain, snow showers. Could be a dusting or an inch here and there in the higher elevations. Snowflake or two along the coast changing over to rain. Nothing really too significant. Look for low temperatures to start off in the upper 20s to lower 30s and high temperatures by the time we get to the mid-afternoon, ranging from the upper 30s to lower 40s over the northern interior, lower to mid 40s along the coast. On Wednesday, we remain on the warm side of this pattern with high pressure and control. Look for sky cloud cover. Look for low temperatures on Christmas Eve, ranging from the lower to mid 30s over the northern interior, upper 30s to lower 40s along the coast. High temperatures in the upper 30s to lower 40s over the northern interior, lower to mid 40s along the coast. So for Santa's trip, shouldn't be too much of an issue around here. Very tranquil, quiet, high pressure and control. On Christmas Day, a trough may produce a few isolated showers, but for the most part, expecting scattered cloud cover and quiet weather conditions. Look for low temperatures to range from the lower to mid 30s, high temperatures to range from the lower to mid 40s. So much where we should be for this time of year. On Friday, the day after Christmas, you're recovering from the gifts and all the family. You're also dealing with a cold front driving through, which scattered showers around the region. Look for low temperatures in the lower to mid 40s, high temperatures in the lower to mid 50s. A bit of a note here, this could end up being a bit colder than what we're showing right now, depending on the location of that upper level low that we're pointing out. If it sets up more towards the Canadian Maritimes, we're more like 10 degrees colder here in this setup. So we'll keep an eye on that as we are dealing with a bit of volatility during this time period. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day. And as always, stay safe out there. Thank you for watching today's video. I really do appreciate it. But if you want to help the channel out even more, and myself, of course, you might want to check out Premium Consulting Membership, which provides amazing content and information that you get beyond the daily video that you see Monday through Friday. So what do you get? Well, you get updates every day in the Premium dashboard, starting with, of course, checking out the latest winter forecast or other seasonal forecasts throughout the year, live coverage room where you can ask me questions live and I respond usually within a few minutes. Also, the latest holiday updates, how the weather will impact that upcoming holiday. If you are into landscaping, or you work in landscaping, should I say, you will get the latest details on whether or not rainfall will be a threat and impact your job. And of course, there is all the other content. The zoomed in impact map, the severe threat analysis, long range thoughts, the premium consulting video, and also energy analysis, seasonal analysis, additional analysis when the storms get really tricky, winter storm overviews, and when the tropics gets really active, all of the updates, including the individual storms and the overview as well. And if you're a business owner, we also have a specific impact forecast for you guys as well, your own weather map. So let's take a look at the prices. Pretty fair. $15 a month gets you all this information. If you're looking for a little bit of a discount, you can also have a yearly at $150 and quarterly at $60. And also, for all of you business owners out there, you have the ability to get your own web page, your own consulting analysis based on what you need every day in the morning, updated Monday through Sunday without any delay. And of course, you can call me up as well and have that one-on-one consultation. So all this and more at NY and JPA Weather. Thank you as always for being a subscriber and watching the videos. But if you're looking for a little bit more, this would definitely be one of the ways to do so. So in the meantime, stay safe out there.